this is going to be crispy.
Slightly better.
Yes. You know, it's fun. You know, it's really fun for the listeners at home. If you're at the gym or driving, turn this off. This is just for the people at home right now. We were having a little back and forth before this part about Jeff resetting his internet and how he couldn't hear me. And we went back and forth. Should he reset his internet or not? And I'm glad you did, and I'll tell you why. Because I never hit record, and we never would have recorded an episode, probably.
I know. I was telling you that record wasn't on, and I'm like, I think he thinks he hit record. So that's my concern, is why I thought you weren't hearing me. So it wasn't the fact that you didn't have audio because I kept telling you that it wasn't recording. It was simply you were zoning me out that much, which is a really weird thing to do on a podcast, to zone out the one other person that's talking.
That's true. Dang. Maybe I should bring that up in therapy. I do a podcast with a person, but I forget it that they're there. And then I'll say, you do a podcast? And I'll say, oh no, I said the sentence that I don't like saying. Let's dive into this. Let's get into this thing.
They're like, all right, nerd, we got a whole new thing to talk about.
And then but what I was asking also at the... Okay, see, I hear you. We're about to talk over each other. So you go.
Perfect. No, you go.
No. We refuse to talk. Both refuse to talk.
You hang up. All right, fine. Ready, go.
I was thinking that this morning I got up on our Sunday morning ritual to place bets to give away money, to donate money to FanDuel, like I usually do. And I looked at the bets.
My favorite organization to give money to.
Do you remember the bets we made last week?
It was...
The predictive bets.
Yes. Hold on. Let me look at the schedule and I'll be able to tell you. It was...
I think we both had hot takes about the Texans over the Vikings or the Colts over the Bears.
Yeah, I had Colts over the Colts minus the points over the Bears, and you had the Texans minus the points over the Vikings.
Yeah, minus 3.5, which is now minus 1.5. So what a steal! If you're listening to our show for gambling advice, you've really.
And I think the Colts changed too. I think the Colts dropped a point.
They probably
did. We get the Colts at minus 2.5, and it's minus 1.5 now.
Yeah,
that's not good.
So we are bad at telling the future.
The best part is we've already, the games haven't even been played at the time of this recording, yet we've already been shown that we aren't good at this. A lot of people have a hard time telling you that you can actually get worse at gambling before the thing even happens.
If they offer, I don't even notice, but it's one of those things, sometimes they'll let you like cash out your bet. Like if you bet $10, like if the bet moves one way or another during a game, like maybe they'll offer you 15 to cash out instead of winning the full 20. If you want to, like, if you don't feel like maybe things are about to drop, you can get out with a little money, but they'll also offer you to cash out if things aren't looking so good. So in this case,
it's like a stock.
It's like we bet 10, and maybe they would offer us like $2 to get our money back. That's the kind of predictions we made.
Yeah, but
I'm very excited for these bets, but things can still happen.
It's gambling, baby. In honesty, compared to how I normally get payoffs, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's like, oh, it's trending in the wrong direction. Perfect time to throw me a curveball and have me actually win.
Yeah. Things are going poorly. I better make a bigger bet to overcome this today.
That's what you do. It's called hedging your bet, folks. You just make a bigger bet the other way. And what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Let's go.
I've confused my priorities. Isn't it supposed to come to me? Yes, this is how it's meant to be. Every little thing flashing on a screen. Age of convenience. My daddy worked hard for this.
Hello. So I do want to regale you with my trip to Ithaca this week and the Band of Horses concert, and just some observations of that. We were also playing Fortnite the other night because that's what we do now, you guys. Hey guys, if your 9-year-old kids don't have any friends, they could play Fortnite with us.
True.
Because we do that now, and we do get wins sometimes, so we're not terrible.
And we also
But
still get very frustrated on certain losses.
Yeah, yep. For some reason, everybody's Iron Man in that game all the time. It's very fun. It's not just a shooter game anymore. Everybody's got rockets in flight. It's very, very confusing and frustrating. But I brought up the idea of we're in episode 87 now. And I was thinking 80s, 90s, that's our wheelhouse. If anybody's listened to the first 86 episodes of this, they know that we're 90s kids, and a lot of our references are very dated. So it's like, well, with each episode, maybe we consider thinking of things from that year that are either meaningful to us or are notable. So this would be from 1987. And then I would said, well, I'll text you to remind you about that, but I didn't do that. So I don't know if you did that at all, but it's mostly because I was looking through 1987, and as a first example, it's not very good. There's not a lot of stuff from 1987 that I like. I know. Did you happen to look at that without me reminding you?
I did.
Okay. I wonder if we have the same things. So we were considering like movies, video games, music, TV.
I didn't do a ton, and the reason I didn't do a ton is because you don't have many life experiences because we were 3 and 4 years old in 1987. So
yes,
not a lot to recap on the actual year of 1987 and memories that I have from said year. But I do have a few things, so that's pretty good for me because I actually did the homework.
What? Yeah. I don't like. Most meaningful, honestly, like there's movies that I've seen. Probably the one I've watched the most from 87 was Harry and the Hendersons, just because I was a kid.
Wow. John Lithgow.
Obviously, the family Bigfoot joint. Or Harry is just in.
What an awesomely ridiculous premise! Like, what if a family ran into Bigfoot? And then Bigfoot came and lived with them because he was a nice Bigfoot and just misunderstood. Yeah. Like, what a lazy premise. But you know what? Good, wholesome, hearted family fun. And John Lithgow. I'll watch anything with John Lithgow.
Do you think it was popular because, like, Elf was so hot in the 80s? They were like, what if we made Elf huge and put it in a movie?
What if we gave Elf a constantly visible bottom half and didn't need Elf sitting behind shelves?
I wonder how it affected Bigfoot truth. Well, I guess the internet wasn't there yet for the public, so right. I don't know how it affected Bigfoot truthers. But were they like, no, he's not friendly like that, you guys? No, he couldn't.
Right.
He wouldn't.
There definitely was people that were like bothered by that portrayal of Bigfoot, and they're like, see, the problem is you're going to have now people camping, and if they run into Bigfoot, they're going to think he's friendly, and he's not. He's dangerous. Like. Yeah, that used to be the simple stuff that people like. I feel like that would have been the protest that you deal with, and that's okay. See, like that's simple stuff. Like, why can't we have those weirdos these days? Why can't our biggest like conspiracy theorists be bothered by a mythical like? Oh, you don't even get me started on Loch Ness Monster. Like, I'm surprised Loch Ness Monster didn't jump on the bandwagon. You know, a family adopts the Loch Ness Monster, and like they get it out of Loch Ness and bring it to their pool at home, and there's a Loch Ness Monster that lives in the pool. That would be good. I'd watch that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the movie in a while, but there's definitely scenes of like, well, fish out of water for Harry, but just a lot of like, oops, like,
right, bumping and knocking over stuff,
running into, a lot of that kind of thing. So yeah, Bigfoots, they're just like us.
In the 80s, you have to have a scene, and again, I've seen it, but I don't recall next to anything. I can just pick Harry's long, like, whoa face. But there's in an 80s movie like that, obviously there has to be a couple guaranteed things. There has to be a scene where he dresses in human clothes and they try to pass him off as uncle something or aunt something.
Yeah.
Even though he's 8 foot tall and covered in hair, but there's like probably sunglasses, some sort of bonnet, and then like a shirt. There also has to be a scene where they're running around the house and like a family friend comes to visit and they're at the front door trying to block them, and all the wackiness is happening in the house of the kids trying to hide Harry, and someone's in the doorway and they're like, "What's going on in there?" It's like, "Oh, that's nothing," and they're leaning up against the door blocking the vision.
We're trying to move them from like the front door to the back door, like through the house, and keep distracting them with like stuff like, "Oop, I keep dropping this vase over and over."
Yeah. Oh man, I love that shit. I like that 80s shtick. That's so stupid, but it's still so good.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, did you have any movies that are particularly?
Yeah, I did. And you want to know what? This was interesting. So obviously, nothing sticks. You're right. The caliber overall. I mean, there is nothing massive to talk about, folks. But I'm going to give you some insight. Okay, so I like the.
There's a couple.
I don't know
A's,
that I could say.
Not a lot of B's.
I don't know that I could say what one I've seen the most, but I'm going to go over some. One is Ernest Goes to Camp, my favorite Ernest movie.
Jeez.
Also featuring the likes of cameo by Lyle Alzado from the Oakland Raiders. Actually, that'd be the Los Angeles Raiders at that time, I believe. So rest in peace, Lyle Alzado playing a construction worker antagonist. But there were over the top, still to this day, the best child custody arm wrestling movie ever. I'm willing to say that. Best child custody arm wrestling
nobody's
movie
really
ever.
tried to move into that wheelhouse at all.
Nope. They're probably in there, but I'm still saying this is the king. Sylvester Stallone, Gem, so many people in there like Sylvester Stallone and Robert Loggia, the old man, Loggia, and then wrestlers Scott Norton and Terry Funk. But things like Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol, Adventures in Babysitting, Brave Little Toaster, and The Lost Boys. Now,
Brave Little Toaster was 87.
So now I got to tell you something about this. This is why I named those movies particularly. All of those are great movies. Yes, even Police Academy 4, I will fight you to the death if you tell me it's not. That gave us Citizens on Patrol gave us David Spade as a cop, which is just wacky, and it has an opening skateboarding scene for absolutely no reason other than to put like Tony Hawk and like Bob Burnquist in the movie.
And I believe David Spade skateboarded in there too, is what I understand. He was able to skate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I've heard Tony Hawk talk about that.
With all of those movies, Police Academy, Adventures in Babysitting, Brave Little Toaster, Lost Boys, my family had VHSs with movies taped on them. You could usually fit, if everyone that remembers and is of age, you could fit probably 3 movies, I think, on a single cassette. I think they were 6-hour cassettes, maybe 8-hour cassettes. Generally, you had 3 movies that you taped, pressed the old play and record, taped it off TV.
Yeah.
All of those movies I mentioned were on like the total of like maybe 8 to 10 cassettes that we had as a family of taped over stuff that I just remember watching ad nauseum. All of those movies were on it. So I don't know if my parents, now it wouldn't have been 87. It had to have been like 88 when they were on TV or something. At some point, my parents really went hard on taping movies from 1987 because I've seen all of those movies. No lie, I guarantee I've seen all of those movies over 50 times. Easily.
Okay. Wow.
Now, one other thing I have to mention when you're talking about the caliber of movies. The top grossing movie of 1987 at 167 million domestic box office dollars. I can't believe this is the most money-making movie of the year.
I know what it is, too.
3 Men and a Baby. What?
Oh, that's it? I thought it was Beverly Hills Cop 2.
No, I think it's 3 Men and a Baby. For domestic box office, I read 3 Men and a Baby. Now, folks, great, charming movie, and it was also one of the ones on the Warden
We had
the
that at
Riordan
home.
catalog, but Steve Guttenberg, Ted Danson, and Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck.
Yeah, Tom Selleck.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. All those three names just scream late 80s. And then they're all just bachelors in a condo in New York City, which you look at now, I'm like, wow, that would not be acceptable. Was that acceptable in 1987? Like, it'd be seen as very, very, very odd now. Like, and it was an architect, a voiceover comedian, and an actor. And like a shitty actor.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys that basically never actually went to work. Rarely.
Right. Like
it's all three. Yeah, all three had to take care of the baby. If you guys didn't know, if you've never seen this movie, a baby shows up on the doorstep. Somehow, I forgot exactly how it happened, even though I've seen this
Ted
over
Danson's
10 times.
Kid. Basically,
Is
yeah.
Okay. But they all had to take care of it. And it's, again, it's another fish out of water comedy. Three men, one man can't take care of a baby. What can three men do?
Right.
80s dads.
Craziness
stereotype.
ensues.
Yeah. Also, that was the movie that had was that the secret ghost in it in one of the scenes?
Yes.
Like behind one of the curtains. There's some good lore about that. I think there's a scene where if you pause it just right, there's a definite ghost. Or maybe a Bigfoot, maybe a Loch Ness.
It looks
Who knows?
like
But
it looks like a little Amish
supernatural.
child. Looks like a 12-year-old Amish child. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are good. Those are very. I mean, the other movies I had that I've definitely seen, Spaceballs, I believe, had come out.
Yep, that was on
Solid, good slapstick.
Absolutely.
Actually, good movies. So I would put, because there are some top tiers.
Mm-hmm.
I just hadn't seen these as much, but I do. The couple of times I've seen these movies stick out. Running Man, Schwarzenegger, and Predator. Those are two all-timers.
Yeah, same year.
Yep. And for some reason, I had never seen this movie till a few years ago on streaming. And it's probably because my friend Sarah's from Arizona, and I think she recommended this movie to me. But Raising Arizona, the Nicolas Cage.
I've
Sort
never
of
seen
comedy, dark comedy, little nugget. Probably one of his best movies ever. But yeah. Good movie. Oh, Princess Bride people like a lot too. I just didn't put it on there because I didn't want to act like I'm a... there's just people who are way too obsessed with Princess Bride, and I'm not. I think it's a fine movie, but I didn't put it in with... I'd be remiss without saying it, but I know it's very meaningful to a lot of people.
Princess Bride is to movies as Dave Matthews is to music. It's like, oh, did you like Princess Bride? Oh, yeah, I enjoy it. What are your top 17 scenes? Nope. I just said it was a pleasant movie. Like, it's like people, yeah, you have to be all in or nothing. I watched Princess Bride for the first time, I think when I was like 35. And I will tell you all this. It's you love it for nostalgia. That's the only thing I can say. Because like I watched it as an adult, and I'm like,
kids. It's yeah.
I that's what I'm saying. But like,
yeah,
you watch it as an adult and it doesn't process. I'm just like, what am I? I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I don't get why everyone loves this, but it's like, that's okay. Like I'm not crushing the movie. I'm just letting you know, like, you could, I'm sure you could introduce it to children, and children would love it still, but you can't introduce it to someone as an adult. So if you're thinking like, oh, my friends that have never seen Princess Bride, I'm going to sit down and make them watch it. Don't. You're just going to hurt your own feelings, and that's a really bad idea, because you love it because it was nostalgic.
You know what? I've heard that as well. Well, maybe I'll rewatch it whenever we get to the year that it came out. But I've heard that about Hook. I know, when was the last time you watched Hook? I've heard that people are like, well, some people like it, but I think some people, when they watch it as adults, go back and are like, not a good movie. Which I don't know if it ever was, but as a kid, it resonated so much. Like all this, just the visuals of it, the Peter Pan of it. The Bangarang of it.
I don't think it's fallen off for me. I'm pretty sure I've watched Hook in the last 5 years, and I love it for what it's worth, like for its value.
I'll have to give it a go.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, it's got great cameos. Dude, it's got it's got some of the best cameos ever in it. It's got Glenn Close as a male pirate for no reason. In like a very quick scene. And it's got Phil Collins as a detective, again, for really no reason in one scene. Phil Collins in a movie. What?
And an unrecognizable Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
He's recognizable. music, obviously
Yeah.
the longest
Slim
lasting
Pickens.
song of that year is Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up."
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, that's literally
Isn't it?
what I had on there. It was Rick Astley's debut album. I looked up because I'm like, how old was Rick Astley when that came out? Dude was only 21. He was a 21-year-old white guy and had the voice of a 50-year-old soulful man. Like, he did not match that tone. Like, I mean, that's incredible that he was singing that when he was 21. What a voice.
And it's cool that he's had his renaissance through memes. That's the best. I mean, that's all you can hope for in life now is to get memed on 20 years after you made something,
Right?
30 years, and
So
just
that
have
people
that.
knows what you are.
Yeah. That's how you live on. REM,
We also
End of
did
the
it-
World. That's a
Yeah.
good song. Appetite for Destruction. That's probably the one I've listened to the most or has the most listens of songs. Guns N' Roses.
Whew. Yeah,
I
heralded
can't
as
think of
one of the
much.
greatest debut albums of all time, certainly in rock and roll.
I've listened to that a lot as a youth. Welcome to the
Yeah,
Jungle.
I have a weird
Paradise
thing
City,
with
Sweet Child of Mine.
Guns N' Roses. I have a it's odd. I can get burnt out on Guns N' Roses a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I like the spirit of Welcome to the Jungle and stuff. Like Paradise City, I think is pretty beat to shit. The only time I want to hear Paradise City is if I see it in Can't Hardly Wait. That's literally the only time I ever want to hear it.
Great scene there.
But you know, Guns N' Roses, and I think it also hits on me like it separates the art from the artist, because I can't stand Axl Rose. I think I just go away. He's a very go away person to me. But Slash seems like a good person, so whatever. But yeah, I mean, they have their place in history, and you can't take that from them.
It is. It's like so novelty. A lot of the, I can't even listen to. I know I don't. The only time I ever hear Guns N' Roses now or in the last 20 years is if somebody's playing it, or if it's on at a stadium, or if it's on in a commercial.
It's forced upon you, yeah. It's like AC/DC.
Yeah.
It's really forced upon you. There's no need to listen to it on your own because you
Yeah.
will have to be subject to it forever.
And Sweet Child of Mine is like a karaoke jam for a lot of people. So never. And yeah, you're right. It's like once you listen to a Guns N' Roses song 10 times in your life, you're probably good. That's probably it.
All right.
It doesn't pump you up. I remember when Welcome to the Jungle pumped me up when I was like 13 before a hockey game. And I was like, oh my God, this makes my blood pump for sports. Yeah, you're going to die. What? Okay. Yeah, let's go play youth hockey.
Right, I'm ready. There was also some Whitney Houston. Obviously, as a child, I did not listen to it, but as an adult, I've been able to appreciate how good she actually was. Now, how good she was as a vocalist, but also, you know, the people writing her songs. I mean, there are some bangers. That was the Whitney 2 album. That was on her sophomore album. So things with that, I believe, were Somebody to Love Me and So Emotional.
I Want to Dance
Probably
with
the two-
Somebody? Is that out there?
Yeah, that's what I mean. I Want to Dance with Somebody. And So Emotional. Both of those are rip-roaring good times. But yeah, I mean that was still 100% Whitney's realm.
A cool video to watch is the if you go to the I Want to Dance with Somebody a cappella, so no music, just hear her vocals recorded. It's insane. Like the music almost takes away from how good the vocals are. So treat yourself to that. Don't just
yourself.
forget about the bathtub and the overdosing and the Bobby Brown of it all. Just remember
Right.
her vocals, Bodyguard soundtrack, and the best national anthem that's ever been sung before Super Bowl 25.
It's true.
If you got that, it doesn't matter anything else. You can go in a bathtub. It's cool.
They
Nobody's
should
gonna
just
remember that.
play that video at the beginning of new Super Bowls instead of letting these
Yeah, just replay.
dumpster fires
Yeah.
fucking sing it. That one guy who played on the guitar the other year was good. I liked that a lot, and I know he's very popular, and I just can't think of his name. 2 years ago at the Eagles Chiefs one, I believe, he played the national anthem on the guitar. He was a
Was it
country
like
singer.
Chris Stapleton or something?
I think that's what it was. Yeah, I think that's who it was. His was really good. That was probably one of the best anthems I've heard in the last 20 years. I'm hoping they invite me to play the Black National Anthem next year. Fingers crossed. I put my name in the hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know it though, and I don't know. Like some political bullshit probably will get in the way. Some bureaucratic red tape.
Well, the good thing about the national anthem now, or any of those, like they really, I think, try to go live with them now, like versus the recordings that they used to do. So now it does open up to mistakes or bad singing, which is almost more exciting than. I think for a long time, national anthems at Super Bowls were recorded ahead of time and just were lip syncing to them. I mean, not Whitney, really? I don't think. Yeah.
What?
Is that?
Why am I first hearing?
Am I off base here? Am I making stuff up?
I don't know.
I might be.
I'm not accusing you. Either that or, I mean, because I could be that
for big ones. Not for like local, or I mean for like weekly games or something like that.
Not for local. Oh, you mean the national anthem that's sung at the high school football game on Friday isn't pre-recorded?
Yeah.
What? Yeah. What?
That's always it. We used to have those before the hockey games. It's such a weird. I don't know. It's weird to have the national anthem before a children's sports game or most sports game. I guess I get it for the Super Bowl, something big. But it was like, I think they started doing it after World War II or something because it was a wave of patriotism. And now we still do it. It's a weird thing to do. I guess we just do it because we do it. That's the reason why.
Oh, that's 100% why. Because a bunch of people are hell-bent on tradition. That's like the families that have traditional like gatherings and everyone always gets in fights at them and like there's like literally fist fights and stuff, but it's like, but we have to do it because it's tradition. Like, I am not a tradition guy. If something isn't if I don't like the thing, why the fuck would I do it, put it on my calendar next year? Like tradition is kind of dumb to me, but please.
The only one I ever really liked, so the Bruins playoff games, like a decade ago, there was this guy named Rene Rancourt who used to sing the national anthem. And he looked like he was just shit-faced all the time. Like he had the big red nose and just like the skin of somebody who's been drinking for decades. And he would come out there and he was such a bad singer, but it was like kitschy. Oh, he could never find the, he had to find, say, can you see? Like one of those, and he had an organ going with him. But at the end, and the home of the brave, and the organ would go, bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 ba, and he would go, oh, he'd look around, he'd go, one, no, two, three, and like during the playoffs, because he'd give you fist bumps for each count, like one fist bump, two fist bumps, he'd get you really pumped up, but in the playoffs, he would do three. Did you give the third fist bump? And the crowd would go insane. And then during the Stanley Cup Finals, one time he finally did 4. But he did it with 3 fingers and his thumb. It was really weird. 4. And the crowd went fucking crazy. 4 pumps. And I was like, that's the way to bring it alive. Because usually when the national anthem happens, you're just waiting for the game to start. And you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot we do this. Okay, just everybody
fun
quiet
is
down.
Fun. It's okay to make things fun. I hate when people are like, well, it should be serious. I'm like, it really shouldn't. It shouldn't. I'm not pledging allegiance to shit. Like, stop it. No one is. Stop it. Knock it off.
Yes. Yeah. I like living in America. Okay. It's cool.
I enjoy it, and I leave it at that. Like, I don't like, knock it off.
All right. I had a couple video games that came out that year that I played more than others. Punch-Out and Blades of Steel.
Yep.
Sports games.
Yep.
Those are the ones that I've mostly played.
Yeah, I mean, NES came out in 1985. And with that, 1987, obviously, is not 1985, but I wore my Let's Settle This Like Adults
hell yeah.
with my Nintendo controller. But 1987, I believe, and this might need to be fact-checked by an elder warden, I believe 1987, Christmas of 87, is when we got our NES. Because I remember, so 1987 was the year we moved to Melrose Road. We moved into my parents' house that's still there, that they still live in. So we moved there July of 87. I was 4 years old. So Christmas of 87, I believe, is when we got our Nintendo. And I have this weird memory, and hopefully it's real, because I always question if like my early memories actually are accurate. And there's this memory of our Nintendo set up, and like, now I don't know if this was Christmas Day or recently after, but there's like my dad and my uncle are in the room, like my Uncle Steve, and I remember him like sitting on a chair that's like backwards and like playing Duck Hunt, like with the zapper. And I don't know why, but like that's just something I remember. Yeah, I mean NES favorite games, or just, you know, the thing with video games is that there's just obscure titles that people had at their houses, because there were so many titles that there were the staple games, but then there was also obscure games that like that is the only person you know that had the game. Like, so like friends, you'd go over and be like, oh, we can play this game because this guy owns it. And like, I've never seen this game anywhere else. I've never seen commercials for this game, but for some reason this game exists and this guy has it. Like we didn't have, you had Blades of Steel. We had ice hockey. So I was an ice hockey kid, not Blades of Steel, where you can have medium guy, fat guy, thin guy. And you play, they were national teams, and there's national teams. There's USA, USSR, Czechoslovakia. So 2 places that don't exist anymore. And then I want to say the other ones were, Sweden is one of them.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah, Canada, definitely.
And I'm trying to think what the other one is. I don't know that it's Germany, but maybe.
It was something like that. Either I was thinking Germany. But it was a country that definitely wasn't a powerhouse, or maybe it was West Germany.
I was just going to say, I don't think it was East and West Germany. I feel like that would have stood out. I don't remember which one was the bad Germany.
Yeah, you're right. There were so many Nintendo games. Like, I'm always shocked by people that are like collecting NES games to try to get them all, because there's a few that are very hard to find. Like, for some reason, one of the rarest ones unopened that costs maybe thousands of dollars is the Olympics or something like that, track and field.
Yep.
Like, it's like impossible to find in mint condition.
It was.
But you're right. Like, I remember playing. What's that?
I was going to say the Olympics game. I believe because I looked up stuff on it, and I think it was like created for a Nintendo championship. Like, it was kind of like what the Wizard is. It was created to be a game that no one's played, and then people would qualify to get to the championships, and they rolled out that game to go, all right, here's a game literally that is impossible for you to have played because we're not selling it on the private market. And that's why it's so high tier, and it was like it's a gold cartridge or whatever. But continue.
But I remember, going to like a friend's house in elementary school or something and playing like Marble Madness. And I was like, oh my God, you have this game that I've seen the commercial of. And then you play it and you're like, it's fine. There's a lot of Nintendo games that aren't good. They just started dumping them out because a lot of them were ported over from arcades and stuff like that, or they were trying to put out. I mean, it was hot. It was like as hot as video games are now.
Everything. Licensing was just blew up. So like everything had a game. TV shows, movies, everything had a game.
Yeah, like gaming's hot now, hotter than it's ever been. But it's like 5 games are hot. Like rarely, it's kind of like movies. Rarely do you have a game or movie that comes out this year that isn't already like an IP or isn't something within something else. But when Nintendo was out, hundreds and hundreds of games, and people had had different versions, different types of, like, a lot of scrolling, different platformers. I remember having Lolo, The Adventures of Lolo, a little puzzle platformer, puzzle solver. And even in '87, I think there was still, what's that?
Sprite had a game. Or no,
Sprite?
Not Sprite. 7-Up. 7-Up. Spot from 7-Up.
The Dot?
The Dot in 7-Up had a fucking game. And it was actually kind of fun. Scott Panic owned it.
Yeah, you never knew. I mean, that's why everybody had kind of a different... I mean, everybody had the Marios. The Zeldas. A lot of people had those. Final Fantasies. But other than that, it was a crapshoot.
Never played a Final Fantasy in my entire life.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not into it. I actually watched somebody play it, my buddy Tozer in college. I really enjoyed watching it, but I could never get into the spiky hair of it all. Sorry, I just not I can't get into the Japanese animation of it.
It was the spiky hair that did it for me.
It
so
was.
I'm gonna give you my hot wreck of the week. I watched this. If you can find this documentary, watch it. It's called Nintendo Quest, the most unofficial and unauthorized Nintendo documentary ever. That's the entire title. And it's a 2015 documentary that these guys made, and they challenged themselves to acquire all 678 licensed NES games in 30 days without buying them on the internet. They had to go to places to buy them. It's actually a really good documentary and really fun because you're like, oh my God, are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to do it? And it's wild of like how far they had to travel to like just certain, like at the beginning they were bought like, it makes sense. They bought like lots of games, like meaning like a lot. Or go to buy a box for $20. They're like, all right, we got to get all the easy titles out. So they just bought a bunch of boxes at the beginning. And then when it's hammered down to like 50 to 100 left, they were like, all right, now we got to like start searching for stuff. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like, cause they went to like collectors' houses when it got to be a point where they couldn't find them in stores anymore. It's just really, it was a very well put together random documentary.
Yeah, I think I've actually seen it. I think that's how I know about the track and field thing.
Oh, really?
I think that's where my knowledge came from. Yeah. Are they Canadian or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah. It is
Wow.
cool.
All right.
Yeah. Well, it was recommended to me, oddly enough, on my algorithm. I don't know if it was on Amazon or whatever it was. But it is cool. And that's how you start seeing all these titles that you're like, what the fuck is this? Who would have played this ever? Like, just dumping out games left and right. But yeah, because I was looking too, because I wanted to see, like, oh, I wonder what pinball games came out that year.
Ooh.
That's still, but there's only like a few, and none of them that I particularly enjoy or have played. But I think it's because in those years, 85 to 87,
that was a
like
really hard lull.
88, Nintendo was so huge. Like having gaming at home was so massive that it became
Arcades
the norm
probably
in
weren't
those
doing
years.
that great.
Yeah, and a lot of games were still coming over, like even in 87, I think, because it was always like a year behind Japan, whatever game. So I think a lot of people in 87 were still getting the first Zelda game, because Zelda 2 came out in Japan, but I think the first one was still like hot in the U.S.
I think
it
was 87. I think Zelda came out in 87 when I was looking it up.
Yeah, so but then pinball will have its bounce back in the 1990 region time.
And also arcades, like in our youth of, true 90 kids, as I say, because we were, 6
actually
to
kids in the 90s.
Ages 6 to 16. Arcades became big again because of fighting games. Fighting games really became the guiding force, I feel like, in arcades coming up huge. And ticketed games. I don't know when ticketed stuff started happening, but in the 90s, you saved tickets to get big wins. All right? Like, you're playing skee ball with a purpose. You're playing wedges and ledges to knock all the quarters off to get tickets. Like, you are playing with a purpose. And your mom's like, oh, do you want to go see what you can buy with these? No, I'm saving the tickets. Till when? I don't know. I'm saving it and that's probably why I save PTO. It's probably because it's that feeling of needing to save tickets. So that's why I save PTO. It's because I'm a weirdo and I'm like, something big's going to happen. I don't know what yet. But when it does, I'm not going to miss out.
Yeah,
I bought a phone with like 12 free stats.
If I save up all my PTO, I can get a Sega Genesis in 4 years.
Oh man, that'd be so good. I'll risk time off so that I can buy something.
Yeah, I didn't really have anything else for the 87. I did notice that, it was the bad year for the economy, the Black Monday, but it's so fun to think about you being a kid and it doesn't matter to you at all, things. It makes you really put things into perspective, like whatever's hot in the news cycle at a time, whatever's going on in the world, really doesn't matter.
Yep.
When you're a kid, because like there's some kid right now, there's some 3-year-old, 2-year-old going through this election, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't even know about it. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be a note in a history book, and they're not going to have experienced that. And how do we go back? How do we Benjamin Button this? How do we go back to that time? That'd be fantastic to like.
It would be nice.
Really
I'd sure love to not care
the
about
economy
things
collapsing. Yeah, and not
Child
about
Jeff
it.
didn't deal with anxiety, as far as I know. I was a pretty happy kid.
I know. It was bedtimes and food and
that's
basically it.
That's your worry was having to go to bed.
Yeah.
That was the actual legitimate most worry you had. You looked forward to trips and holidays and stuff. So everything in the future was, oh man, this is going to happen and it's going to be sick. There was nothing in the future that was going to be bad. The bad stuff was the here and the now. So there's always things to look forward to. Now I have a hard time enjoying here and now, and I'm worried about stuff in the future. So they've flip-flopped. And I'll take the first one.
That's a great transition. Worry into my trip to Ithaca. Let me round it out here. So it was the Makeup Band of Horses show. I was excited to go. And then I was a little nervous. I was getting in my head about the just being at a show alone thing again, and just going there. And it goes back to the beginning of the show. We're very bad at predicting the future as people. And this is a good counter to anxiety too, something to consider. And funny enough, I forgot, but I had an appointment with my therapist the morning before I went to the show, and it was good. It was well timed. I wasn't I wasn't super hyper fixated or ruminating too much on what could go wrong, but it was yeah, you deserve, just go there and enjoy it. We talked about the music, and it's crazy to think. Well, number one, just the music, the show itself. It's this band. So we talked about how I don't know the words, but I've listened to it a lot, this band, and I really considered that because they're always my ambient music, going for a hike, a walk, just mellow. And it was going to be cool because now it'd be so crazy to see this music performed in front of me after only knowing it through headphones. 99% I know this music through headphones, and that's my only connection to it. But then to have it played in front of your face is really a weirdly kind of emotional thing. To sit there and have it performed. So he got me in the headspace of that, and to just talk yourself up, and it worked. Because I was bad. I got there, drive was fine. Number one, didn't even worry about it. Got into town, got into the Airbnb, and just showed up a little early. I think the doors opened at 7, but right away, number one, Ithaca is a cool town. Everybody is there so friendly, for no reason. Why are you being friendly to me? I'm put off by this.
That's suspicious.
I don't get this. You don't know me. But I showed up to the State Theater. It's one of these, it's got the marquee. It's got this, the vertical signage, State Theater thing, and people were taking pictures. And right away, I was like, hey, I can take that picture for you. He's oh, thank you so much. And I got a picture, and it was got me really into the community of it all, even though I was showing up by myself. Went in and checked out where my seat was, second row, and just hung out, had a drink, bought some merch. Wearing it right now. Very nice. They did a good, the theater's so well run. And it's cool because they just let you walk around anywhere. They don't. It doesn't matter what row you're sitting. You can go anywhere, take pictures. Anybody can go to any bathroom. I hate theaters or venues that are all up in their ass about where certain things have to happen, or oh no, you can't go to this spot, or you can't. Everybody there was just so chill, and it made it really easy. The only thing that they had was even the drink snacks line was sort of oh, just go to that line or that line. It's cool. Hey, can you leave? Yeah, actually, we'll give you a re-entry. They were very lax, but not in a bad way, on rules and stuff like that. So it made it very comfortable. Yeah. And the show itself was awesome. And so this is where it gets interesting. So now I'm vibing with the people next to me. The opener was really good. What was his name? Nolan Taylor, singer-songwriter. Very dark songs, or very sad songs. And he would say it. But he had great in-between song banter with him, and he had a buddy who played guitar as well. Yeah, I got another sad one for you. Sorry, I keep wanting to say that this one's not as sad, but this one's also sad. This one's about my best friend who tried to kill himself in my bedroom. So it's sad too. Sorry, you guys. I just don't have anything that's not sad. But everybody was into it, and the crowd would be how do you guys know each other? And actually shout out stuff to the guys, and they would respond to it. It was just a very fun vibe.
All right.
Even though it was sad songs, but everybody was in on it, feeling it with him. And he's I don't have a set list. We just kind of look at each other and see what we want to play. But he was very cool. So between the sets, he made himself available. So I went and chatted with him for a little bit. But I was very appreciative of the in-between song banter. I like it if it's good, if it's meaningful. I mean, I've heard bands that do like a lot of stock in-between stuff. Like they have the same banter between each song. But his seems so...
That's weird.
Real.
That's weird. I'd rather.
But the crowd got into it with him. What's that?
Like the stock banter. That's
Yeah.
gross. If you have to do that, then just don't do it. No, like I've seen bands where they have zero interaction between. If you're not good at it, just don't do it.
And I get it. You have to tune your instruments and stuff. But sometimes I'd rather you just say then like, I got to tune this thing. I forgot how to.
Yep.
This is taking me longer than I thought. Usually I'm good at this. Or something. I don't know. Instead of, who's all from this town? Who's from a different town? Who came from far? But they're not. You ever see people that do that? They're doing that, but they're not looking up at the crowd ever. Even they're just like looking around at each other. The band, like, are you listening to us? But then the show, Band of Horses, come out, and they're just rocking. So originally the show was supposed to be half acoustic and half electric. So they were gonna have like an orchestra with them and do like a very mellow, which I think is why it was in the theater. But this was like all electric. Like they didn't have, this tour wasn't going on anymore that they were originally doing. This was the last night, like the makeup show. And so it was rocking. And we got to it. We got into the standers versus the sitters. How was it going to go down? And because it felt weird. Because the first song they played was a little more mellow, so everybody was sitting. But then the second song came on. It was kind of like one of their bigger jams. So people were like, fuck. You could tell like some people started to stand up around. And I got up with them. I couldn't. I felt so bad for the band. Because they were just looking out on the crowd. And just like going. And people were just sitting. But I was like, but I don't want to stand in front of people. So I waited. I kind of went with the crowd. Like if they were standing up, or most people were, then I would. But it seemed like whoever was on stage left was standing. Stage right, not so much. So I was right in the middle. So I could kind of capture the standers if I wanted to. But it was fine. Like I think people who wanted to sit, stayed sitting. There was no issues with anything. I would just sit up. Stand up, sit down, depending on the vibe of the song. Basically, but everybody else was kind of the same way. So it honestly worked out. Like it was such a vibe that I really appreciated it. And there was like the people around me, just it was fun to kind of chat with them. There was this really strange in front, a family right in front of me. It was a husband, a wife, and in between was their son, who I'm guessing was like 12 or 13. You could tell they dragged him to the show, and they probably didn't need to because he was old enough to stay home alone. So, but during the show, you could tell he didn't know the band. It was like one of those moves where it's like, we're going to bring you to our music. And I don't think he was down for it because he was doing this. At one point, he was covering his ears, which I think was more of a little bitch move for his way of communicating. I don't even like this because I have to cover my ears because I had earplugs in my pocket, brand new ones that I bought just in case. So I tapped the mother's shoulder and I was like, hey, here, you can have these. She offered them to me. He goes, no.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because of the noise. It's because he wanted to be a little bitch and cover his ears. Yeah.
But you got caught, guy.
Sucked.
You got got.
And it sucked for them because you could tell the dad wanted to rock out so hard. But I think the vibe of his son impacted his enjoyment of it. So, because he would like sort of like he'd like get excited and then he'd get up and like get it, and look down at his son and then he'd like sit back down. And I was like, oh, you're letting him ruin this for you. And then I was like, now I'm glad I'm here alone. Or I mean, we've all been to shows with different people in our lives that were more or less into it than we are. I think. Like that, I think I'd mentioned that before. Like a girlfriend I had that went to a Metallica show before, just because it was the X Games, so we had been to the X Games and they played that night, and she wasn't into it, and it kind of like ruined it for me. And so that would be an advantage to going to a concert alone, if you're thinking about it, is you're around people
you get to
who
vibe
are
how
into
you
it.
feel the need. Yep.
Yeah. And but it was a great show. It went by very quickly. even like this shirt that I got, the original one, I noticed later on, like one of the threads was coming out. I went back to the desk. The girl was like, just cool to switch it out. I didn't ask if I had messed it up, which maybe I did because I didn't know if I caught it on something. All the people in the crowd were cool. So afterwards, I walked back to my place, dropped off my merch, and went out for some drinks. And I saw a couple of people that were sitting behind me because I walked by them, and then the girl was like, hey, that guy was sitting right next to us. And I was like, oh, yeah, hey, guys. And I just hung out with them for like an hour. Like one dude, they were from Rochester, so we were just talking about like hockey. This guy played hockey around the same time I did.
Oh, well, there you go.
People were just like, the other people traveled from Rochester, but they did not bring their kid, which was a great idea. But it ended up being very much worth it to like, I don't know. Again, very bad at predicting the future. Right? I never would have predicted that.
Just do the thing. Do the thing, and it'll pan out.
Yeah. So very meaningful. Hey, I want to ask you a question about this. So I got a poster there, and I'm debating whether or not I should hang it up in my new office. I want to.
Oh, okay.
What does this? So it's a signed poster of the band, which is kind of like trippy. What is that work appropriate?
Like, I don't think it is because it looks like something mounting the other thing.
It does. Yes, thank you. I just needed that to bounce that off to somebody.
Now it appears that it's one amorphous 6-footed thing. It's either, all right, it looks like one thing either mounting the other or a human centipede cheetah. Neither which are work appropriate. So I'm sorry, bud. I'm not sure that you can put that up.
I can't. I know it sucks. I just ordered the frame and I unraveled the poster again, and my eyes went right to that cheetah, the 6-legged cheetah that's wrapping around itself, and I was like, shoot, it looks like it's humping itself.
Oh, it's coming down the stairs like out of that thing, right?
Yeah,
whoever designed that fucked up. Like, dude, you fucked up. I get the principle now, but yeah, dude, like, how do you show that to someone and they don't go like, oh, that's what this looks like. So just heads up, Gary, you're gonna have to redesign that cheetah. Your 6-legged
and it's
cheetah.
very, I get it's meant to be like trippy and weird and like abstract. Mm-hmm. Sure. I was like, fuck. Well, I mean, I'll obviously be okay to hang it at home, but I was like, it'd be fun. Like it's a story piece, you know. But I can't have a picture of a cheetah humping itself. That's too weird.
You can't. And now everyone, folks, if you are only listening to this, I guess you're gonna have to jump on either YouTube or watch it on Spotify because you're gonna have to see this poster and give your own opinion on it.
But you're right. That's exactly. I mean, yeah. It didn't even take you a second.
It did not.
So yeah,
it did not.
You're locked right in on what I was worried about.
That's correct.
So that's good to know. I just needed to bounce that off of somebody. And yeah, the rest of the time I spent there just spending money, walking through. It's weird. Like the economy there works a lot on cash. Like everywhere, for some reason, I don't know if it's a mob town, but everywhere you go,
surprising.
They're like, oh yeah, if you cash, there's no tax. I'm like, what? That's a thing? Like, how much you guys hate paying taxes here? Like every store I would go to, like I went to like a record bookstore.
So they all just want to be off the books.
I guess, yeah.
Big
Very
tax
bizarre.
evasion city there.
Yes.
I don't hate it. I'm just saying.
Well, I think it's definitely a liberal kind of hippie, crunchy town.
Not kind of.
Yeah, college
not
town.
Very.
Yeah, very, very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're afraid of anything trans related, anything represented on a colorful
flag, not a great place to go.
No, you're gonna hate it.
Stay away for that.
You're gonna hate it. So I bought a bunch of stuff. I love retail therapy too to help myself feel better. So spent way too much money. I bought myself some running shoes at a little running shop there that I've never done, like running sneakers fitted. The guy was like, "Hey, oh yeah, your 5th metatarsal here. You do this, you're bowed." And I was like, "Wow, yes, please fit me with shoes."
They have. Tell me
cool.
for the running shoe store, did they have a little track on there and they want you to trot wearing the shoes?
He didn't have a track in there, but he said you can go outside and take it for a run, test run. I was
a good running shoe fitting place wants you to actually like try it out and stuff. And you do feel very bougie when you buy a running shoe because those people every experience I've had has been like, oh, this is more than me just saying like this is comfortable or this feels nice. They're like, oh yeah, they're like, here, I'm also gonna bring out these Brooks 17 hyperactive B style because you have this arch problem, and you're like, yeah, I got a foot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I ended up getting, some Brooks, but I tried on some Asics, some Hokas, some I don't know what else, but those are the ones. It's like, yeah, we're gonna start here, and then you tell me how that feels relative to this. I'm like, dude, you fucking love this. Then we were talking trails after because I went hiking afterwards at Buttermilk Falls. But he's like, yeah, you want to go? Yeah, if you check this out and go there, and like he would have let me sit there all day and chat with him. So very cool, dude. I did buy a couple things. I don't know why I wanted to buy stuff at the record store. Just cause I don't know, it just was cool to me. So I don't have a record player. You guys will be shocked to learn. I'm not a vinyl person. Only because I don't have one. I mean, I have records, but I don't have a record player, and I've never bothered to set one up or buy one. Mm-hmm. But I was like, let me just go CD shopping, because I feel like when I get in the car, I always just like turn on Spotify and podcasts, and like I just need to have a CD in the CD player just so I can like, so you know. So I bought one CD or two CDs. One was, I don't even know what to expect. I'm excited about it, but it's called Step on a Crack Volume 2, and it's from, I don't know, mid-90s, but it's various artists, and it's a punk compilation of punk artists from New York City.
Okay.
So I don't know them, but The Wives, Dead Guy, Electric Frankenstein, Templars, whatever. You know, I'm going to say a bunch of names that somebody knows. Somebody very cool, much cooler than I will know.
That's a good point.
But I'm kind of excited to, like, I think that's the energy of going into, like, a CD store. Yeah, 1995, Go-Kart Records. Fuck yeah, dude. The Devil Dogs. But I don't know. I'm just excited. Like, what was the punk sound of New York? Because, like, a lot of people, the popular stuff was, like, that SoCal sound of then. And then I got a Willie Nelson CD that I never have heard of. It's called Countryman. So I'm always down for some Willie. But this is a little bit different. 10 years in the making. Willie's first ever reggae album merges with the gospel and soul spirit found in both reggae and country. So this could be a disaster. I don't know what to expect. It's got a big weed leaf on front of it. But that was kind of the energy I was going for, and I wanted to get something that I just don't have on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And it's a story. Basically, like, I like buying merch and shit from places I go because then it's a story in a way, you know? I got a puzzle. I've been wanting to get a puzzle, so I got one of the waterfalls at Ithaca. Every souvenir shop there has something. Like I finally bought an Ithaca's Gorgeous t-shirt at the shop where it started, but I also bought a shirt that was misprinted. Like they have a rack of misprinted shirts that you can buy for cheap. It says Finger Lakes on it. But it also got double printed. There's a smaller Finger Lakes on top of it. But it's just like each letter has like a picture of a Finger Lake in it, but it got double printed, misprinted. They have stuff with like backwards tech. Like they had an Ithaca's Gorgeous, but it was printed backwards on there. It just didn't fit me. I would have definitely got that. But yeah, it was, I don't know. I spent a lot of money. It was good. It kind of tired me out. I'll say that. One of those trips.
And then you had to come back and work a day.
I did. That was the worst idea ever. I should never do that again. But yeah, my advice would be get outside of your comfort zone, even though it's wildly uncomfortable, even during it. Because afterwards it's worth it and you get it. Then you train your brain to be like, hey, it'll be okay. I also tried to... I tried to vlog it. I was like like in the car ride. I had my GoPro. I videoed some of the show, walking around, and I was like, I can't do this. I just realized how hard it is. Not hard. It's easy if you have the right mindset to try to vlog yourself in public. I can't do it. I don't understand how people can do that in front of people. I mean, it's probably
I saw someone doing it the other day. The other day meaning like last month. And I was at the outlet malls near here, and someone just like me and my brother are sitting there, and then this person like walks up to a blank area on an outdoor wall, and then she sets up like a stand and puts her cell phone in it and like presses it, and then it's like, hey guys, blah blah blah, and like is talking like that, and I'm like I'm like just watching it, I'm like, I'm not like my first instinct is like old man. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, stop being such a weirdo. But then I'm like, well, no, I don't give a shit what she's doing. Like, meaning she's not in my way. She's not in anyone's way. She's just doing this thing that is weird to me. Not insulting, again, just odd to me because I don't do it or understand it. But I'm just like, good for you, I guess. But it looked so weird at the, like, when I first saw it. And I'm like, yeah, I get what you're saying, because it's just like, I'm not against it. You just have to have that mindset of like confidence.
Yeah.
Like, is that what it is? Is it confidence that, or is
so.
it just like I think it's more confidence as opposed to I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. I think it's more of a, no, I just really enjoy doing this, and it's okay for me to enjoy doing this. So I don't think it's like a disrespect for other people's opinions. It's a respect for your own opinions to just do what you like, because you know at the core of it, it's not negatively affecting anybody. So even if it's not positively affecting people, you just have to remember that, well, if I enjoy it and it's not negatively affecting others, then I'm just going to go ahead and do the thing. But yeah, I get it, man. I could never pull it off. And I'm an outgoing person and everything, but it's a whole different thing. I can't do it. Couldn't do it.
And it goes to, I mean, this is coming from a couple of guys who have put out 87 episodes of podcasts now, but it's like, nobody cares what, like, why would anybody want? So that part of your energy is like in you. So it's like, this person's going to walk by and be like, why is he filming himself playing pinball at the brewery? What a dork. Be like, yep, I guess I am. Because why would I? Yeah. Why do I think that highly of myself that somebody would be interested in what I was doing? Yeah. But, you know, the original conceit of it was like, I think it would be cool to share it on the channel, because it was a process of me like going through what, you know, just having like a lot of anxiety about this, and now how I'm tackling it now, and maybe it would resonate with somebody about that, or how what I'm feeling about it, approaching it, and what the results were, and how they weren't what I thought they were going to be.
That's actually a good point. Yes, that would probably get you over the hump next time to go, this is therapeutic for me. And maybe someone else finds the charm of it, of being like, oh, yeah, he's talking through the concept of like anxiety and confidence and stuff. That I could understand. And I think if anyone saw you doing it, but also happened to hear what you were doing, they would probably be like, oh, that's interesting. Like, as opposed to like, you being like, hey, I'm asking people, what's your favorite thing to do into someone's butt? Like, it's not like...
with a tiny microphone.
Yeah, like with a tiny microphone that's supposed to be on your lapel, but for some reason everyone's holding. But like, yeah, I think if you did that, I could see that as the thing to put you over for your own confidence, of being like, no, you're literally talking it out in real time, the therapeutic aspect of it. I think that's pretty interesting. You should give that a try. You should do that.
And it did feel that way too, because I mean, it's also like stuff I like doing is, I don't know, I've always liked video stuff, and this, you know, podcast stuff. So it makes me feel good to do it. But it is, you know, it's strange after you do that or record yourself for whatever reason, sharing things about yourself. It can make you feel good. And I don't know if that's part of it, because the seeking approval part of it, or if it's just I enjoy sharing and having some way of expressing myself that I know a lot of people like to find a way to do. So I don't know. But it was a good trial run. I'm going to go through the footage. I already have gone through some. The problem with the GoPro is it's not lit very well. And unless you have it like docked to something, it's pretty shaky. So we'll see. I'm going to go through and see if there's anything useful. Maybe I can put out a little something. Or maybe it was just practice for the next great adventure that I go on. Who knows? But yeah, that was it. In sum, great show. Glad I went. Glad I didn't let whatever anxieties I have prevent me from doing it. And just knowing that You know, anxieties are a good thing to have for a lot of reasons, but not if you miss out on the things that, you know,
Right.
make life worth living. The end. And that was the end of that chapter. Plus, buying stuff is awesome. Anyway. I would be real psyched to see my credit card statement. But I'm doing it for the miles.
Coming up. Huh?
I know.
Metallica?
I know. We had to figure that out. Big show announcements. More money to be hemorrhaging.
You bet.
Perfect. Well, appreciate everybody listening and letting me indulge for half an hour about my things.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, you guys, next week, you guys can get on here. Next week, you guys call in. We'll have the number ready.
Right.
You guys.
We're putting it up on the screen right now. That doesn't really work in pre-recorded things, does it? You're just going to call me while I'm working.
And for next week, how about you guys send us your bets?
Yeah.
That'd be really helpful.
That seems reasonable. If anyone's
Like
a better
if you're on a
or
streak.
not a better. Actually, if someone's never placed a bet in their entire life, we would love you to give your opinions on bets so that we can see if you're just better than we are. If you don't watch sports, even better. If you're just picking randomly, please, by all means, do it. So wait, we got to pick. We're gonna finish with this. Let's pick week 4. What's your over under, or excuse me, not your over under. Your pick with this pick on the spread for week 4 of the NFL.
All right, we did so well for this week. We're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
All right. So again, predicting the future, something we're very good at.
All right.
So for next week,
Shoot, I gotta pull it up.
so we have to guess what's going to happen. Can I just pick against the Giants right now, whoever they're going to be playing?
If you want to, it's
So
not the money line, it's the spread.
September 29th. I mean, Thursday, the Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites over the Giants. That seems... Is that too high? The Giants are
what,
bad.
in Dallas, right?
No, it's in New York. I mean, isn't that a game where the Giants lose like 40-3?
Is that the game that Daniel Jones finally gets benched?
Oh, here's one. Here's one I like. New Orleans visiting the Falcons. And they are getting 1.5 points. New Orleans plus 1.5.
Wow.
Over the Falcons. And you can take that to the bank. Or the Steelers plus 1.5 visiting Indy. Going against this week's bet. Man, I feel like there's a lot wrong with next week. And I felt that last week too. The Cardinals minus 4.5 over the Commanders. Jeez. Are we about to become millionaires?
I know.
I like all those.
I almost like Tennessee plus 1.5 against Miami.
Yeah, depending on the injury situation. Well, I mean, 2 is we'll never play this season, right?
We'll see.
Right?
We'll
Right?
see. Man, I'm gonna go. Shoot.
Yeah, if I pick one, it's New Orleans Saints plus 1.5 at the Falcons.
Okay, I'm gonna go
And that's that.
with. I'm gonna go the Vikings plus 2.5 over the Packers.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go, guys. Our bet of the week. So what you want to do is jump on the other side of that real quick before the
Right.
the points go the other way.
Remember the caveat to this is you shouldn't do what we're doing.
You go with the opposite, then you're going to be looking real good, real sharp next week.
Big money. Big money for sure.
All right.
All right,
That'll
well,
do. That'll
Cue
do.
the outro. Cue it.